Good day. Welcome to Tokyo City University, Yokohama campus. Thank you for joining this short lecture. Now, I'd like to talk to you about synergy between Japanese and Australian researchers, including my personal history of research rather than formal topic. Let's start by giving you some background information about myself. My name is Yukio. I'm a professor of the joint degree program at Tokyo City University. I have also an adjunct assignment at the University of South Australia in Adelaide. My presentation will be divided into three parts. Firstly, I'd like to talk about my academic work as an agricultural economist. Secondly, I'd like to talk about some beneficial effects of international collaboration in general. Then, I want to consider our international works by reviewing my track record of published papers. First, my work in Australia so far. I have about 30 years experience as an agricultural economist and have often studied in Australia and also almost always worked with Aussie colleagues. I've been interested in Australian water reform since 1997 and regularly visited Armidale, Ober-Wodonga, and Adelaide to study water economics and to conduct on-the-ground surveys among irrigation communities and water agencies. Perhaps I have the most detailed knowledge about Australian water issues among Japanese researchers. Fortunately, many Australian universities and governments have afforded adequate opportunities for me to go on academically and financially. Living and study in Australia in my younger days was an exciting experience and was helpful in progressing cross-country studies on environmental and public policies. Now, let's consider the general perspective on advantages from international research collaboration. One of the important benefits is research capability, which would be improved through work with international communities. What is most productive about it would be to publish highly rated papers efficiently. Through international research collaboration, we can create synergy such as in knowledge sharing, supplementation of research capabilities, and diversification in research. If you are lucky, you might find opportunity to participate in novel research project. The social benefit from international research collaboration could be to provide new values and solutions. We need to work together to tackle global common challenges in international academic communities. We could contribute to solutions for real-world issues by applying research methodologies and lessons developed in one country to another country. You might successfully make plans against future possible risks in your own country by understanding what has happened in counterpart countries. For example, Japan has ample experience addressing earthquake reliefs and shrinking population. We look at my track record of studies with Australian researchers. I published 8 academic papers and some books or book chapters. Earlier studies of mine covered the sustainability-oriented policies of water and agricultural sectors in developed countries. More recently, I've been developing the papers on public administration with an Australian professor of public economics. These studies focus on case studies of successful co-production between local government and volunteers to address modern Japanese issues, such as recovery from 2011 great earthquake and also an aging society. We are preparing for some further papers of co-production concept with other Japanese social issues. Fortunately, most of our papers was published in international highly rated journals. Our cross-country studies are also valuable resources for developing agri-environmental policies among policymakers. Here, I'd like to go through my cross-country studies. One is a comparative analysis of agricultural policies, and another is a case study on farm business management styles. This comparative analysis of global agricultural policies aimed at drawing lessons from common agricultural policy in the European Union. We took 5 countries, including Australia, Canada, Japan, Switzerland, and the United States, to identify better policy mix in comprehensive agriculture and food policies. As you know, market-oriented policy has spread in the Australian farming sector. By contrast, intervention in the market is still part of Japanese agricultural policy. Both countries budget increasingly for securing farmers against natural hazards. If you look at this table, you will see more details of different policy mix between the 2 countries. As I mentioned, Australia generally employs competitive farm policies. Both countries are developing new policies focusing on natural resource management and rural development. Water is a scarce resource in Australia, but land is scarce in Japan. Such different conditions must affect changes in each country. We found some notable implications for policy makers through the international collaboration study. Risk management policy will become more important in most countries because of global climate change. We also found policy differences in payment methods to farmers. Australia and the United States are keen to create market schemes to change farm practices for resource conservation. By contrast, Japan designed farm payment schemes to promote further collective action for resource management. We move on another cross-country study. This case study on farm business management styles highlighted the competitiveness of Australian rice farms as a point of comparison with Japanese rice farms. We collected data by using common questionnaires from advanced farmers in the 2 countries and analyzed various aspects such as the capability of farmers on farm management and farm strategy and innovation. You know, Australian farmers manage much larger land than Japanese farmers. Let's take a closer look at the figures. We can see interesting differences in farm strategies. Specifically, Australian rice farms tend to employ capital and technological-oriented strategies to pursue economies of scale. By contrast, Japanese farmers tend to promote value-added and market-oriented strategies to satisfy domestic consumers. Unfortunately, farmers in both countries give less priority to extensive farming for the environment in their fall strategies. We have some key findings through the farm-level survey to be applicable to the Japanese rice industry. Rice business strategies in both countries look different but reasonable under the open context. Australian rice farmers prove to have high level of business capability, business-oriented motivations, and a strong awareness of business approaches. Those facts would mean that Japanese rice farmers should find out a solution for their business growth, not only from farm scale, but also from capacity building as a business person. I'd like to suggest some questions to see if international research and collaboration create beneficial effects. Focusing on research capability enhancement, has research generated values? Have researchers worked well together? And has research contributed to training young researchers? Focusing on values and solutions for society. Would the outcome of research be useful for addressing challenges? Would the outcome from research have implications for different contexts? And how could the outcome of research be successfully applied to the real world? Today, I've been talking to you about my own experiences of synergy between Japanese and Australian researchers. I'd like to conclude with a review of main points. Firstly, I looked at my track record of academic publications. Here, I'd like to remind you of productive research output through international joint studies. Secondly, I considered scholarly contributions from our joint research. I'd like to point out that we have introduced the new analytical concept, co-production, into the conventional public economics and administration in Japan. Thirdly, I examined policy and management in the farming sector internationally. Here, I'd like to draw your attention to the practical lessons for Japanese farmers and policy makers. And finally, I'd like to refer to further values of international collaboration for a sustainable society. For example, social issues that modern Japan has possibly happened to other countries. Examining how Japan is tackling with these challenges by learning from international collaboration studies will benefit people in the world. Thank you for your participation in this lecture.